Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Knights Arena Spike Down, Episode 2. My name's Keith LaFortune. Joining me in George Geddes. What an eventful week leads into an eventful and fruitful episode, I hope. George, let's talk last week. Let's run through the results. And let's just dive into the juiciest part for me, losing back-to-back 9-3 leads from Oxygen.
Yeah, it wasn't great, was it? It wasn't the best to watch. It was pretty rough. The thing is that when you see teams go up 9-3, I think everyone has it kind of in the back of their mind, like, oh god, like, is it gonna happen? And then if it does happen, it's like, okay, first map, I guess, I guess we gotta get away with it. And then, oh no, it's happening again, and then they just lose the game. Yeah, it was really rough. Obviously, I think when we look at the maps, and we can kind of see that obviously Ascent was very defense heavy, and then Breeze was very offense heavy.
Yep.
I think it was pretty clear that the teams did play very well, but obviously, I guess the sides that they picked kind of did work to their favor. Obviously, Oxygen picking offense and Breakthrough picking defense on Ascent, for example. I think it did work for their favor. And obviously they had a good plan coming into it. It just goes to show that these maps are very side heavy, I guess, very side dependent.
Yep.
But I think Breakthrough played very well. All things considered, I think considering somebody like Sim, for example, a few of the others don't really have that much experience. I think a Proto and Flyer have a little bit more, Brock as well. But I think someone like Sim as well really did kind of prove that he is a very impressive player, and I think I have an article coming out soon. And I really do rate Sim. I think he has a lot of impact. Obviously, he had a very high ACS. I think he had like 278, I think, on the first map. So, this guy was dominating. And I think the meta as well really suits him. Obviously with Jet.
Yeah, I mean, Jet mains. So. Yeah, the Jet mains are back, and I think the big thing was experience in this matchup, really. I mean, it's you look at the rosters, Randy Savage has a ton, and to get these leads, it takes experience and grit, and then to lose them, it takes the other team being more composed, essentially. And that's what it came down to. I think Sim really was a big factor on Ascent. And, I think Breakthrough, as you mentioned, looked great. Oxygen in the same side, I mean, it's hard to say they look good and then they lose the series that way, but they still looked all right. I think a couple of their big pieces like Pooney and Randy didn't have the best series. Scuba, I mean, you got to say something about him. He's an absolute monster. So he had a great time. Speaking of dominating performances, let's talk about Oxy leading G2 basically against FaZe. And this matchup really was a cool one to me. If you look at the score line and everything, everyone on FaZe, although it went 3 maps, was negative, and everyone on G2 were positive, which is crazy. And Oxy, the young gun, out of everyone on his team, leading the charge. Is this kind of what we thought we'd see, George?
Yeah. My GOAT. Yeah. G2 LFT Oxy coming in, proving to everybody that he clearly has what it takes, because I think coming into this, Oxy had a lot of question marks, right? Because when you look at this roster, you kind of think, okay, most of these guys have a very, they have a lot of experience. They have a very tenuous history in Valorant. And I think you can't really question anybody, I guess, on this team other than Oxy, because obviously he would have the duelist responsibility coming into the team. Would he kind of live up to the expectations that G2 fans would have, for sure? And I think he's proven it in the first map. Or first match, should I say, actually. I think he played exceptionally well. Coming up against a very good FaZe clan as well. I think Oxy definitely has what it takes. I think Oxy played exceptionally well. The fact that he got was it 55 kills or something? It was ridiculous.
55.
I think.
Crazy confidence out of him too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, I think that's exactly what you need as well. Like there's nothing worse than a scared duelist, and I think everybody can probably agree with me, when we're just talking normal ranked games. But, I think he is the epitome of aggression when it comes to, kind of going toe to toe with enemy duelists. I think he definitely kind of has what it takes, and he's obviously not afraid of anyone. He doesn't care. And I think that's exactly what, what Shaz especially was after. coming into this G2 prospect. And I think as well, Penny did very well. Of course, you have the likes of Whippy, also, incredibly reliable, especially when you put him on the controllers. I'm very impressed with G2. I think Oxy
Agreed.
especially, very good.
I want to see if he can continue to do this. I mean, he dominated the first kill, first death with 13 first kills, 7 first deaths across all 3 maps. The only person who was positive on phase was Dicey the Sentinel. So I think if we can see this trend of Oxy continuing, Dapper, Penny, Whippy, they're only going to get more comfortable. And it's cool to see Penny on the Neon, by the way. So side note before we switch is double duelist on Haven. It's been a while since we've seen that. They're going breachless, which is kind of like almost breaking the meta, it feels like now. So it's cool to see G2 start to find themselves. Really nice first win for them. Let's see if that can continue in the next week. TSM looked like a car with a flat tire coming out of the gates against Mad Lions. I mean, realistically, that icebox was not even close. And for them to be able to bounce back, I mean, they at least pumped up the tire, made an emergency pit stop, but they were running on fumes there for a bit.
Yeah, listen, I don't want to say I told you so, all right, because I feel horrible saying that, all right, but I will say I told you so. I said that this TSM lineup will be, I think, very rusty. I didn't think that they'd be that bad. I guess when I kind of saw them get absolutely rolled on Icebox, that was not fun to watch. I think that was just pure domination. I don't even know how that was allowed. But obviously, bouncing back on the bind and ascent again. Both of these maps being incredibly close. I'm really not convinced by the TSM project, but it does show that these guys have what it takes to kind of bounce back when their backs are against the walls, which is obviously a very good thing that you would like to have. So in that regard, I think TSM did well. But this does kind of paint quite a scary picture because Mad Lions weren't really considered one of the stronger teams, and what's going to happen when you come up against the strong teams in the group? You know what I mean? Like, I think this would be pretty damning for TSM, especially if I'm a TSM fan. I'm looking at this thinking, this was pretty skin of the teeth, it wasn't convincing.
Cool about TSM, or something interesting. They have 3 players across 3 different maps, Icebox, Bind, Ascent, and 3 of them played 3 different agents. Which is, if you look at most other teams, they play 2, 3 across 7 maps. 4 if you're like really crazy across all the 7 maps. So a lot of flexibility going on in that TSM camp. And the one nice thing I do want to say about TSM, other than, you can't say the performance was great, is the consistency of nature and how surprisingly perfect he's fit and how well he's been playing so far. Because I think him coming into this team was completely out of left field. And for him to be leading the charge along with Hayes, I mean, that's cool to me.
Yeah. No, I like nature. I think he's always been like quite a solid player. I remember watching him a few times on Gen G. He's always that kind of just solid player. Never really has like a really bad match, that kind of player. So I think it's good having that reliability on someone for sure.
Absolutely. Well, let's wrap up the recap with OR Esports taking, as one of the underdog teams, taking first blood, taking a map off of M80. And by the way, it was Pearl, in which we saw another 9-3 half, and then OR only lose 1 round on their defense side to completely reverse sweep them, basically. Saw a lot of cool things. I think we saw strides of brilliance from Zeldris, which, if you rate Sim, you kind of have to rate Zeldris almost at the
for
same
sure. Yeah, of course.
level. And to be able to see him have a good map, it's really promising. I don't know if this means the rest of their games are going to be close. I hope so. But there was a glimmer of promise there, I'd say.
Yeah, no, for sure. I completely agree. I think when you look at some of these youngsters as well, you kind of think to yourself, like, do they kind of have what it takes to kind of consistently keep going? And I think that will be kind of one of the biggest question marks going into these next few weeks is, will Zeldris, will Oxy, will like even Scuba to some extent, will they be able to kind of carry on this really good form that they have, because I think some of the other kind of more well-known players that we've kind of already become accustomed to, for example, the B-Dogs, the Valens, we already know they're going to, play well. For example, like, other players like Vic as well, I know will always kind of
Oh
play
yeah.
well. You have like G2 players, Penny, Whippy. You kind of know they're always kind of, going to do relatively well. But these guys that we don't know too much about, we have to keep an eye on to kind of, question whether they will fulfill the potential. But so far, so good. It looks good. I don't think there's been,
Yeah.
I don't think they've been performing poorly. I think they've been doing very well. Zeldris, especially, obviously, although they lost, I think he was kind of the shining star, right? I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think time will tell with him, and that team has a lot of cohesion, so I don't think they're going to be too upset after that series. Let's jump into tweet time. We've heard your questions, and we've selected 3. The first one coming from Takumi Val, asking, does Turtle Troop have a chance of winning a match? Very blunt and to the point, Takumi.
Mm.
And to be honest, they're in the group where they can get one, I think. And let's just look ahead for the next couple of weeks. They play FaZe, right, coming up. Then they jump into Breakthrough, G2, and they end with Oxygen. I mean, the odds say they're going to win one of those series.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a group to win it in, yeah, Group A would be the group that you would win a match in, for sure.
Yeah,
I think Oxygen didn't look great. Turtle Troop as well didn't look great. But Breakthrough, again, it's like I think they could take down one of these teams at least.
mm-hmm.
So to say that they're not going to win a match, I think is a bit a little bit extreme. Although they only won like 10 rounds, I think that they do have a little bit more in them. So yeah, I think they'll beat either Breakthrough or Oxygen. I don't think they'll beat G2 Shopify. FaZe maybe, if there's like a bit of an upset on the cards, but other than that, no, I don't see them taking it against the big boys, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're fighting. They're definitely fighting over there. It's Ricky J asks, of all the teams heading into this week with an 0-1 record, who's looking the strongest? And to just catch everybody up who has 0-1 records, I'll run through Group A, Oxygen, FaZe, Turtle Troop. Group B, Mad Lions disguised OR. And Mad Lions, if I pick Mad Lions, I'm a hypocrite based on the first episode. So I can't pick them. But I gotta go with my gut, and I think Oxygen look the most promising. Although they lost back-to-back 9-3 leads, I think they have the right pieces, and I hope that was just a lapse, personally.
Yeah.
But if I didn't pick Mad Lions to be the quote-unquote rated the lowest team in predictions last week, I'd go Mad Lions because I think they really proved something.
Yeah. I think I would say probably FaZe. I think obviously because FaZe lost to G2. I think FaZe will definitely bounce back, especially the more reps they get in with Rossi. They'll kind of build into this roster, I think. And I think that this roster kind of just needs a little bit more time. But even against G2, they still had glimpses of a good team, right? They still had the glimpses of this FaZe that, we kind of we know to be quite good, especially regionally, right? Obviously had that incredible run during LCQ as well. So, we kind of have to. I think we can come to an agreement that I think FaZe definitely will be bouncing back for sure. Yeah.
Especially with their schedule, Turtle Troop's first up, and I mean, then they get punched right back down to SR. But yeah, I can agree. It's for me. I wanted to say Oxygen, but I could definitely see how you could lean towards FaZe. And I mean, as we've touched upon, they're both in the right group to thrive. So we'll see who's able to surface there. Another question from It's Ricky J. B-Dog was primarily duelist / chamber back in stage 2 in LCQ last year. With a shift to more of a controller. This time around, how's his play transitioning so well after last week? And if I had to take a stab at it, it's confidence. He seems to fit so well into the Shopify Rebellion roster. They've been together for what feels like forever, this core 4, at least 6 months from just top of my head memory. And let's be honest, if you're going to play a smoke character and play well, it's Brimstone to have the tools to just be a little selfish. What are your thoughts? Because I think he is one of the most impressive players so far from the first week.
Yeah, I think B-Dog, like historically, when I look back at some of the teams that he's played for, I think he's always kind of been that shining player. I think I remember he was on TSM Academy for a little bit, and then kind of went
Yep.
to Luminosity. And I think on Luminosity, he was kind of up there with the rest of the guys. And I think that Luminosity core was very good, was very stable. And I think B-Dog kind of has the raw kind of mechanics to make a controller work. Because I think one of the problems that you have is that typically the in-game leaders are usually on controllers. Just as a general rule of thumb, typically because not only are they like the last people to die, but also the fact that I think controllers are a lot more kind of less reliant on the ability to get kills. And it's kind
They
of,
control
I
the
feel like,
pace.
well, exactly. And I think that the recent shift in the meta has kind of allowed these non in-game leaders or even in-game leaders to kind of just take the controller role and frag out with it. And I think it's kind of proven dividends for some of these players. And I think the raw mechanical skill was never a question for B-Dog. I think he always kind of had what it takes to put up numbers, no matter what agent you really put him on. It's just the ability to kind of utilize that agent in order to secure a victory. And I think that, obviously statistics don't show the full story, but I think even B-Dog's playstyle was very good. And I think Shopify have clearly adapted to this. So yeah, I think Shopify looked good. Totally. And I think B-Dog especially highly rate him.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see him on what else he's going to do. I know he's a very flexible player, so is it going to be more controller? Is he going to switch into a flex position?
Just keep him on Brim. Brimmy with a stimmy. This guy,
we could.
Been killing everyone. Why not?
Yeah.
Keep him on Brim.
I mean, let's continue talking about controller players. I mean, another topic with B-Dog, but Valen, B-Dog, Scuba, controller players are leading the way in challengers. It's such a weird thing to say out loud when you think of last year. Duelist, a bit of flex, right? I don't want to sleep on someone like Nismo, who topped the charts in statistics looking at last year. With the top 3 rated players, B-Dog, Valen, Scuba, controller players.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your thoughts on it? Is it the meta? Is it,
Well, I think eventually it will balance out. And I think that those guys will kind of go a little bit down as more like Initiator and Duelist kind of go up. But I think the Chamber, like the absolute murder of Chamber has basically brought back the Duelists. And I think the problem is that if you actually look at the statistics for like who the best players were, I guess, you'd kind of like, if you had no idea as to the roles that these guys play, you'd be like, wait, Omen, Brimstone, Viper, these agents are overpowered. Like what? Like, you know what I mean? You'd look at them and go, oh my God, every single like top player is using these agents. And it's quite impressive. It's very impressive, actually. Valen's one of the players that I've always rated in terms of his mechanical skill and his ability to lead his team. I think is incredible. I think for such a young player to be able to do that is I think it goes to show that he has what it takes. I think even at the international league level, I think he could easily do it. I think Scuba as well, another player that I've always harped on about, this guy from just talking to pros. Exactly, yeah. From just talking to pros, he has the respect of a lot of them. And I think that clearly that, he was wanted and he will still remain to be wanted. And I think that these guys definitely, they fulfill a role of a controller player, but also the ability to, some of them have the ability to lead, whilst others have the ability to kind of play the agent well, but also get kills.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's something that a lot of players. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. I think it is a lot of unspoken value because not only are they getting the value in terms of the score and the kills, etc. Obviously, those things matter, but also it's the ability to kind of utilize their kit to actually allow their teams to victory, right? Or and I think that that's a very underrated thing to have. And I said also it kind of comes back to the fragging IGL, kind of what we need from these in-game leaders. I think Valen especially is the shining light of that, right? And I think he's kind of the wonder child. So Vanity, these guys are coming for you.
That's
all right,
one.
No more 0.4s. All right, it's not good enough.
Yeah, and a closing thought on it is, these guys are going to be in a lot of clutch situations. Just for fun fact for Scuba, He's had 10 clutch opportunities, won 3 of them for a 30% win rate in clutches so far. So keep on your controller players moving forward through challengers. They want to be alive in clutches. And let's see who can claim the title of Clutch King after Split 1. Let's talk about another thing. Let's talk about the Stinger. It is going to be getting a little bit of a tweak. Damage will be reduced. Cost will be increased. Now, my question for you, George, as much as this is probably a sigh of relief for a lot of people, is this going to change the economy balance? Are we going to see force buys still? Are we going to see, what are we going to see in terms of the Spectre going to make a return? Are we going to see more Sheriff rounds? What's your guess with this now starting to fix itself moving forward for these teams?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I sincerely hope that the Stinger is like completely gutted, but just from looking at it, I really don't think so. I think one of the issues that we kind of had with this kind of force buy Stinger like second round, is the fact that it was so cheap kind of allowed for these little bits of utility to be purchased on the side as well.
Yeah.
If you just kind of had like half armor and Stinger, if you got like 1 kill in the first round, you'd kind of be fine. And then you could just buy half armor, buy a Stinger, and you could probably buy like 1 cheap
right back
bit
at
of
it.
utility,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. But I think now it kind of alleviates that that possibility, which I think is good. But I'm not sure if it's enough. So we'll kind of just have to wait and see and kind of find out what it's like in practice. And we'll kind of figure it out from there. But I think it does just depend on whether teams really put a lot of emphasis on their utility purchases, which I think they will. So in that case, I think it will kind of revert back to kind of how it was before the Stinger nerf. So, the kind of Stinger meta, I guess, if you will. I really do hope, because I hate that gun. That gun is busted. So, I think it's ridiculous.
It should be good now.
I hope so.
Cost makes sense.
I hope so.
I want to see more Sheriffs. I think Sheriffs are cool. And I want to see more people get some sweet highlights. You know what else is slept on is the Marshall, by the way. Side note. That gun is really good.
That gun's broken too, yeah.
So I really hope we get to see more use of that. Now let's put our brains together and let's talk predictions for next week. The matchups, and I'll run through them quick. And then we can talk about them. Wednesday, we kick off the day with Shopify, Oxygen, the Guard OR. Thursday, we jump into DSG, Mad Lions, followed up by M80 TSM. And Friday, FaZe Clan, Turtle Troop, G2 Breakthrough. I mean, there's a couple of games in here, I think. And let's start with Wednesday, Shopify, Oxygen. I'll let you kick off your thoughts.
Yeah, I think Shopify take this pretty easily. I wouldn't expect there to be too much of a bounce back from Oxygen. I mean, I think there's, unless something ridiculous happens, I do think Shopify take this. Not to be boring or anything, but I do think Shopify are just the better team. So we'll kind of have to wait and see. But yeah, I think Shopify take that one.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to side with you on this one. As much as I think Oxygen are going to bounce back, I think this is a really hard series to do it in. Shopify are looking like absolute killers right now. If they played Guard right now, I couldn't even tell you who won. I'm being serious. Like it would be an insane series. Speaking of Guard OR, maybe OR pull another Pearl victory out here. Maybe they squeak something through, but I think I would be crazy to take anyone other than the Guard.
No, there's no way. There's no way. If the Guard lose, I'm sorry, but I have lost all faith because, no. The Guard will not lose. No, they won't. No.
Perfect.
No.
Well, you've said it, so now I get to hold you to it. Let's talk Thursday, DSG Mad Lions. Man, after watching what Mad Lions were able to do with TSM, coming out swinging, seeing how confident they were, Will was finding his stride. I'm still going to go with DSG purely based on consistency and having that tenure as a team. Now, that could be completely wrong, and maybe I'm getting on the TSG hype train.
I think you are.
I'm down for that. I could be.
Yeah. See, I thought you were going to go with like the base take of, this guy's, You know what I mean? Mad Lions have been doing really well. They played, they
Yeah.
played a good matchup, and then you're going to go like, "Hey, I think Mad Lions take it." No, you went, "Nah, I
Nope.
still rate
I'm going
Disguise
crazy.
though."
I'm going
No, no, no,
crazy.
no, no, no. no. I would say I personally disagree. I think Mad Lions kind of proved that they are a very good team. Disguise, I still don't rate highly, so I think Mad Lions
Mm.
win it. To be honest,
Well, I mean,
yeah,
I think this week's going to show which one of us rated them in the right spot. This is the true
that's very
test this
true.
week.
That's
I
very
think this
true.
is going to determine how this is going to balance. I mean, M80 TSM, this one, I don't think it's going to be as close as the Mad Lions series.
You
I
don't think
feel
it's going to be
pretty
like clear
safe in
cut
saying that.
as okay?
Yeah, I think
That's
M80
fair.
is going to kind of take the show with this one. I hope it's close. And as I said, consistency of nature, Hayes finding himself. I'm not saying it's concerning when Hayes is leading the way in majority of fields, but
Well,
he's in-game leading. There's a lot on his mind. And I think M80, they look deadly.
well, he's leading the age field, that's for sure. I'm kidding. I love you, Hayes.
He's leading some
But
fields, yeah.
he's leading that one, so I guess that's good. Well, I mean, imagine if it was Disguised versus TSM, you'd have Boomer versus Boomer on that one. But obviously, Steel
Can't wait.
recently celebrating his 73rd birthday, so I think
Oh, that's awesome.
I think M80 take this. I don't think TSM
Yeah.
really have it in them to beat M80. Maybe, like, again, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know, but yeah, I think M80 take this. I think realistically, they are just much better in terms of how they play, and although it was a little bit of a hiccup, kind of losing a map to Or Esports, I still think they played really well. So yeah, I'll take M80 on that one.
Yeah, we'll see. Friday, let's wrap up the week and then get out of here. We'll skedaddle. It's FaZe Turtle Troop. I'm going to read your mind here, George. I'm getting a bit of turtle. Is that... Am I wrong?
No, I don't think the no, unless like I'm suddenly thinking of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't think I am, but
Yeah.
you know,
I don't think you were.
no,
No, I
no,
think it was FaZe then. I guess
certainly not. FaZe win. Yeah. Look, I'm
Yeah.
boring. What can I say? I'm very boring with my predictions.
Okay.
All right.
You're a realist.
So
It's all right.
yeah, I'm a bit of a realist. Yeah, I have to be. So I'm gonna go with FaZe. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with this one. Now, the next one I think might be crazy to say Breakthrough have a chance, but it would be crazy to not pick G2. That's my stance. I think Breakthrough are showing promise. They're showing strides to becoming a very deadly, consistent team. But then you run into hurdles like G2 and Noxy and someone who doesn't care if their duel doesn't go their way and they're going to keep taking it. And how do you stop that?
Not sure. I don't know, to be honest. I think Oxy has been absolutely dominating. So I don't know. That one out of all of the games, I'd say G2 Breakthrough is probably the hardest to predict. I'm gonna say Breakthrough. I'll say Breakthrough on it. Why not? That'll be my wild card.
Okay.
That'll be my wild card pick for the week. I think Breakthrough could have a potential of winning that. So yeah, I'm gonna say Breakthrough. I think it'll be close, like a 2-1. I think Breakthrough could win.
The maps are going to be the vetoes in that one's probably the most important vetoes out of any of these.
Yeah, for sure.
Is what I could say. Well, that's the show, and I want to see everybody in chat what your predictions are. Are we crazy? Are we normal? I mean, don't answer that one. Just answer the predictions. And we can't wait to see you guys again in the following week. So I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next time.